Hi all, this is mainly a PowerPoint video going over some important topics from Chapter 5, but before we launch into the PowerPoint, I wanted to remind you of the essay quizzes for Chapter 5 and 6, which both of the essays this week have the topic viewable before you take it, so you can look at it. It's more like a Dropbox in that way. And I just wanted to show you, this is my ebook. I know many of you are using the ebook. So if you go to, I am using page numbers a lot, as well as sometimes identifying the sections. So the Chapter 5 essay has to do with this quote from H.L. Mencken, which is on page 154. So we do have I also have the physical book, so it does match perfectly, so there shouldn't be any issues. If you do see any pagination issues related to any of the things I post that don't match up, please let me know. So to get to the PowerPoint, Plato is our first famous written philosopher in the text. He wrote a tremendous amount and was responsible for writing some of the best dialogues in Western history. Some of them are listed here. As you learn in the text, Plato is actually his nickname nickname of Aristocles, and Plato itself, the word means wide or broad, and it's generally regarded that he got that name because he did have very wide shoulders. He was influenced by his mother, Perictione, who was something of a philosopher herself, though not as well documented as Plato. So he was influenced by her, who she was very much into this idea of wisdom being self-control, wisdom and self-control leading to other good things such as virtue and harmony. Plato was disillusioned by the mob, what he called the mob or the elite in his translations, and he believed that a corrupt state, which, as we're going to see, was the inevitable result of democracy in his mind, in part because he saw democracy fall in ancient Athens. He established the academy, and after Socrates' death, he traveled for a while. Then he established the academy. Plato's epistemology. He believed and was very intent on refuting both skepticism and relativism. He wanted to provide a positive account of knowledge, and as a result, wanted to dispute and argue against those who said that knowledge was problematic or relative. He very much believed in a dualism, which was trying to put together Heraclitus and Parmenides. Heraclitus said everything was changing. Parmenides said everything was one. Plato wanted to represent both of those. There is a world of becoming, and there is a world of being, or in Plato's case, would be more a world of perfection, even. Okay, I'm going to bump ahead to a few. The theory of forms, as you've read, very important to Plato. We could call them transcendentals, And they are they exist on their own and are not part of what we can sense, but are knowledge above the sense world. Again, they do exist independently of human consciousness, but are not physical objects. So Plato's two-world system is very much in tune with being able to be called a spiritualism, and in a sense represents kind of the archetype of metaphysics for us. Again, he wanted to appeal to the forms to counter and refute relativism. What we count as knowledge, according to Plato, is fixed, absolute, and eternally true. According to Plato, the most important kind of knowledge is knowledge of the forms, and it was, as it says here, a necessary and universal type of knowledge. Once ahead to so Plato's divided line is a relatively good rubric, metaphorical and visual, where he presents different levels, 2 levels of becoming and a level of 2 levels of being. At the lowest level is imagination, at the highest level is understanding. So you can see the middle line here, which is the divided line. Underneath it is the visible world, the world of opinion, and above it is the intelligible world, the world of knowledge. So as listed there, the levels include lowest level being illusion and having to do with images. Level C is informed opinion based on common sense and perception. Level B is using deductive reasoning from principles, and level A, which again is perhaps the most difficult level to come to terms with. One can directly apprehend the absolute form of the good. And it's important here that there are certain forms. Again, Plato opens the Republic by talking about justice. The entire Republic is about justice, and he starts in chapter 1 right into obsessing over it in that chapter. Such forms, abstract forms as the good, here called the absolute form of the good, and the form of justice, kind of direct all other forms. And it's very telling that for Plato, the form of the good is at the top, and it is in some sense connected to what we would call good. That is, it's very important that he is referring to a good there. But again, it is a form, so it's an abstract, non-physical entity. The allegory, one of Plato's most famous stories, occurs in Book 7 of the Republic, and kind of is a good representation of his entire metaphysical worldview. Plato believed that only the people who have escaped the cave of opinion, as it says here, who could think in terms of the forms, would be able to rule. So it was the rule of philosopher kings, and he did leave room for philosopher queens as well, and yet the famous phrase is the philosopher king. and that's the rule of the wise. So in the Republic, two different ways to view morality are emphasized. The instrumental theory, if you're doing something right, it's going to be good for some, as it says here, something else, some ulterior motive. According to the functionalist theory, each kind of thing, including us, has a natural purpose or function. And Plato and later, we're going to see next in the next chapter, Aristotle, both were heavily invested in a functionalist theory, which is not necessarily as automatic as the instrumental theory. So there are, in the Republic, he organizes people. Kind of the state gets organized by the people within it, a class of workers, class of warriors, and a class of guardians. And the philosopher kings are in the guardian class. Parts of the soul, there was a three-part system to Plato's concept of soul, or psyche. The appetites are desires, etc. The spirit, and that's kind of means what it says, that which is not physical. And then our reason, which is more fundamentally opposed to the appetites. The spirit kind of sits in the middle, arbitrating. He does compare the soul to a chariot. The cardinal virtues was something that the ancient Greeks, all of them, were very invested in. Four of them: temperance, which is self-control or moderation, particularly of bodily desires; courage, wisdom, and justice, which, according to Plato, was when there was a balanced functioning of the whole. So it's the three different kinds of people functioning well, the three parts of the soul functioning well, etc. And then close out a couple of a little bit on democracy. Again, he believed, although he believed that tyranny was the worst form of government, he also believed that letting the unwise, the masses, the demos, the hoi polloi, run things would not be any better, probably actually be worse. So the quote from the essay quiz this week, H.L. Mencken, a great American journalist, relates to this issue of democracy and Plato's attitude toward it. So Plato was indeed a utopianist. So he did think the form world, his vision of how to set up government and best rule, all had utopian elements. All right, well, that's it for now, and look forward to chapter 6. Thanks.